Hi, I'm Vana, and this is Umer. We both use IFS therapy with our clients. And on this video, we share insights from the books we read. Today, we're discussing Internal Family Systems, second edition by Richard Schwartz and Martha Sweezy. I'll start reading a section on meditation from chapter 1 that stood out to me, and then we'll have a short discussion about it. So what really stood out to me is this one here. Under the section New Data from Chapter 1, Dick Swartz writes, even though I had been meditating for years and I could shift from negative feelings to calm or sometimes even bliss by focusing on my mantra for a few minutes, when I didn't meditate for a while, the feeling of worthlessness crept back in like fog, obscuring my calm and confidence. Now, my clients were showing me a new way of accessing calm and confidence. I began to experiment with noticing parts in my body and asking them to step back instead of using a mantra. Amazingly, it worked. And this is how I continue to meditate today, almost 35 years later. And the reason that stood out to me is about how the meditation he was doing and how it shifted, it changed into something different, and him working with the parts. Um, and I'm curious about what you think about the meditations. Is this a practice for you, Umer? Or what comes up for you when you read that?
A lot comes up for me, honestly. I've not been a consistent meditator, but I think I've tried my fair bit of meditating, uh, and you know, it works. It's really great, and um, there's so many levels, right? Um, I have so many parts when I wake up in the morning that want to be heard, that want to be listened to, right? Uh, some of them uh, cannot wait, right? And that's what gets me out of bed after my cup of tea, and I'm on in the park meditating. And they know that uh, just it's just me and them, and we're just there's no podcast, there's nothing in my ears running, and it's a wonderful experience. I think it it gives me a lot of calm during the day,
Oh, wow.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. So, going inside, like even like first thing in the morning or whenever people meditate, like going inside, not just like, okay, here it is, I'm gonna meditate. And it is very useful to just meditate on a mantra or
Mm-hmm.
on your breath, but also noticing your parts, validating them, and asking them to give you a little bit of space. That is
Mm-hmm.
so
Mm-hmm.
wonderful. It's so
It is.
respectful to the parts, to the system.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I do like kind advice to clients and my
Mm-hmm.
own parts to have
Mm-hmm.
like a regular meditation practice. Sometimes I may stop, but then I return back to meditation. It is very very useful. Now,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, Dick says here that he doesn't use a mantra anymore,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, it can be useful not to use a mantra. It's useful for him. It's not
Mm-hmm.
always the same thing for everyone. A loving
Mm-hmm.
kindness meditation could be very useful if
It's
parts are
amazing.
okay.
Yeah.
you know it's about being in communication with the parts. Are they okay? Are they on
Mm-hmm.
board?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I'm not entirely sure, is that because you told me before, I think it's like a walking meditation. What kind of meditation do you normally do?
I do a walking meditation, and that too barefoot, as long as the temperature is allowing me to do that. So it's a lot of grounding, literally, and it's sunshine in the morning, and it's just me with my parts, and I'm just open because I don't have an agenda. I don't want to unburden anything. I'm not looking forward to any spontaneous unburdening. If it happens, it happens. And it's a space, it's an hour for my parts, any of them, to show up. And it's okay if none of them want to show up.
Yeah.
If anyone of them wants to share
Mm-hmm.
their experience, share what they've been carrying, showing me what they've been through, right?
All right.
Uh, and it makes sense to me,
Yes.
validating. And for me, for some odd reason, this is the first time I'm seeing it this way. It's like uh, parents spending quality time with their kids, right? We're all busy. We have jobs, we have work, we have clients, we've got a house to run, and all of that, right? Just taking out an hour and just spending that quality time with your kids, right? Because our
Yeah.
parts are like our family. So I don't focus on my breath. I do not focus on a mantra. I just hold space for my parts, any of
Oh,
them that wants to show up. And
okay.
trust me, they've shown me a lot.
Oh, wow. So how is that a question you ask? Or do they just, how do you notice that? Do you go inside? Do you say like, who's here? Do you notice like a feeling in your body? How does that work for you? Or do you just like, you like open receiving whatever comes?
I'm just open to receiving, and usually on most days when I'm in bed having my tea, uh, I would feel this urge, this sense somebody wants to speak, and that's my cue.
Hmm.
Let's get walking, right? And I just hold space for them, and sometimes
Okay.
it takes a while for a part to show up, uh, and sometimes it's very very intense as well. So it's a lot of reassurance, it's a lot of compassion for these parts and trying to understand given their context. And trust me, nobody knows the context better than I do, not even my therapist. uh, so it's really beautiful, right?
Yes.
uh,
I love what you say. I used to go like walking and I was in my head. And also now knowing, hey, what's going on? Who's talking?
mhm,
Not being totally blending, did and having this kind of deeper knowing that there is a part talking and there's something else going on in
mhm,
the system. I'm not sure. I think does it come from also, CBT uses it. I'm not entirely sure. Name it to tame it. So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
but and it is very different. Okay, IFS is different because you go
Hmm.
inside and still useful as a. I like to use that name to tame it. N- Who's here?
Hmm.
Describing, oh, there is an emotion. Oh, so there must be a part that gives me that kind of emotion. You know, what what do you want me to know? Or, if you can engage, even just noticing it is enough. But if you can engage in a dialogue, like, when I used to walk, I would talk to myself, being in my head, but having that
Hmm.
separation and dialogue
Hmm.
is very valuable for the system.
It is. It is, and it has a lot of. It's not just for calmness. It has a lot of advantage for trauma survivors as well, because I've learned recently that the region of the brain, the medial prefrontal cortex, where that allows us the interoceptive ability, the ability to see inside, is 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 affected by trauma. That's smaller than people who haven't been through trauma. But the good news is that the brain is neuroplastic, and just having that meditation practice of whatever kind you're into allows you to go inside and re-establishing that connection, and that part grows,
Oh,
and that
yes,
really helps
absolutely.
understand what's
Oh,
going
wow.
inside and not be overwhelmed by it.
It's wonderful. It's amazing what the science backs that up. There's hard science behind it. That, if you do this
Mhm,
practice, if you go inside,
mhm,
um, you can notice more, like more emotions and.
mhm.
Mhm. I was reading the a polyvagal book by uh,
Deb Dana.
Deb Dana, yeah, and she in her book she said the people who can notice and make a uh, know the different emotions. Oh, this is, they can see, like, they can distinguish the different emotions. They have more
Mm-hmm.
resilience.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're looking for something like
That.
resilience, like it's outside of us, but it is here.
Mm,
Just slow down and notice what's happening within the system.
yeah. And I've got to add, it can be very, very difficult, especially when it comes to trauma survivors.
Yeah, I
Just even
can.
the simple act of closing your eyes, right?
I can.
It can be very challenging.
Yeah.
But just checking with yourself, that's all IFS does. Just checking with yourself if it's okay to do it for 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever works for you.
Even a minute.
Yeah, even a minute.
Yeah. So, what advice, how can someone who hasn't done like this type of meditation, or who's a beginner,
Mm-hmm.
how can they possibly
Mm-hmm.
do that? What would you say
Uh,
to someone?
there's so many ways now. You've got apps like Headspace and Calm. If that's your thing, you could use those. And if you're somebody who's meditated before or is fairly uh, well acquainted with the idea, they could start, right. Just being with yourself, just with no distractions, right. uh, and and see what happens, right? And just noticing, even if it's a very difficult experience being inside, right? Just noticing afterwards, reflecting. I think that's my advice. If you don't have a practice, start small, something that you can manage,
No,
and building that consistency with yourself.
consistency, yes. Here,
Hmm.
uh, now, even though Dick Schwartz, of course, it's Dick Schwartz, he is the founder of IFS. Yeah, and
Hmm.
he it was a huge, it's an incredible journey in this chapter one from
Hmm.
the IFS second edition book, how he discovered IFS. But okay, he can focus on the parts and not on a mantra. But to me, I feel like if someone hasn't had that kind of experience, it's okay for them to start with a breathing meditation or
Of
on a
course.
mantra. It's okay, and then they can progress into like noticing more of what's happening in their system.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
So is that okay for us to close here, or is there anything
Yeah,
else? Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Um. And thank you, Omer, and the people who join us. And let us know of any thoughts or questions, and see you in the next video.